Mikel Arteta is being pressured massively from Arsenal fans to either quit his job or be sacked. This comes after two back-to-back defeats in the opening Premier League games for Arsenal and Mikel Arteta, with Man City upon the horizon. But is this plausible? Could he be out soon from his job? Many people suggesting 10 games, Christmas, maybe even the season. At the same time, Arsenal are still working on transfer deals. It has been proposed by Fabrizio Romano that the likes of Aouar could still be an Arsenal target up until deadline day. Also, this afternoon, we're going to be delving into some business that's going on at Tottenham. Sarr is almost done and dusted with a fee being agreed and a medical pending, and a big money move in the region of £40 million for Traore from Wolverhampton Wanderers to make him, one, reunite with Nuno, a big fan of the player, of course, and to bring him in to White Hart Lane. So what could be to round off some really, really good business from the Lily Whites from North London this summer. We're also going to give you an update on the Jules Kounde situation as well, plus take your comments. I'm joined this afternoon again by the wonderful Jessica Black, of course, from She Knows Arsenal. Make sure that like button has been hit. Make sure you subscribe to the Football Terrace. You retweet if you're watching on Twitter. Follow if you're on the Twitch platform. If you're here on YouTube, check out in the description below all of our social media accounts. You know what to do, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do this. Welcome back to the Terrace, Jess. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's going to be a busy week. Transfers are coming towards a close. There's pressure at football clubs. And, of course, football's returned as well. So we've got the fallout of that to kind of react to. Carabao Cup this week as well. First time Arsenal, I think, have played at this stage of the Carabao Cup in my lifetime, or at least in my adult life anyway. But, yeah, busy week ahead. And lots to delve into. Have you recovered after the defeat yesterday at the hands of Chelsea?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it doesn't feel great. I don't think any of us were under the illusion that we were going to go in there and dominate, especially missing 5 starters or key players or whatever. So I'm recovered over the result, obviously. The Brentford one was more of a shock than this one. I think it's just, when you watch the game, you know, if you look at the 2-0 scoreline, you're like, okay, that makes sense. But when you watched it and you saw how tactically naive we really were, in particular on Tierney's side, not even trying to mark Reece James, who was involved in both goals, got one and assisted for Lukaku's, it doesn't feel the same. You know, if we had went out there and lost 2-0 and they actually had to work for the goals, then yeah, you're like, okay, fair enough. But the way that we just look so naive and really just pathetic, it left a bad taste in my mouth, you know. So 2-0 against Chelsea, European champions, way better team than you. You can swallow that, but like the way was just horrible, you know. But I'm okay now.
I hear you on that. And of course, the fallout from Arsenal fans has been absolutely palpable. We're about to take a look at a clip here from Arsenal fans surrounding Mikel Arteta in his car after the game.
Arsenal fans confront Arteta.
Was that good enough? Please leave.
Was it good?
Good enough today?
Arteta, do yourself a favour. Mikel, do yourself a favour. Mikel, do yourself a favour, lad.
Arteta Out.
Like you see those kind of
Arsenal fans confront.
You see that kind of footage there as an example amongst others. There was obviously footage yesterday from Edu getting a lot of stick as well from fans at the stadium as well. I think it led to Edu's wife giving a particular Arsenal fan the finger and kind of letting him know exactly what she thought of it. You can see here this Arsenal fan kind of berating Edu that's in charge of the transfers. There doesn't seem to be there's no happiness at all right now at Arsenal Football Club, and Mikel Arteta very much appears to be the focal point of that in relation to the fans' anger and everything else. Where do you stand on this right now? Do you understand this kind of behavior from Arsenal fans? Do you think it's right to surround Arteta's car, to put this pressure upon him? Or could you see it being the right act from people that want Arteta out? Could this put a pressure on the club to fold and removing sooner rather than later?
It's a weird one. You know, I don't like seeing that. I really don't. Especially because there was a protest before the game started and nobody showed up. You know, so why not show up to the protest instead of doing that after the fact, like with cameras, like especially the people that went after Arteta in his car. So I get the frustration and all of that, but like nobody showed up to the protest. Like that was the actual time to try to get together. But I get it. The low-hanging fruit, you know, the easiest target is the manager. You think if you change the manager, it's going to change all of your problems. Guess what, you guys? It's not. Do you have any faith that they're going to be able to hire the right guy? Probably not. They'll go after another cheap option. Again, the bigger issue is the Cronkies. And again, there was nobody at the protest. Like it literally was dead. But it's so much easier just to go to the game or, you know, go up to Arteta's car and say something instead of try to actually band together and do something. I think the pressure that we could have put on the Cronkies is more important than just going after Arteta. I think the Cronkies are very comfortable letting Arteta take bullets. That's what they want. They want the type of manager that's just going to take the bullets. So yeah, I don't really like seeing that. I don't really think that's going to change much, to be honest. I really, really don't. And again, there was a protest that was dead, you know, so that was the time to like try to make something happen, not during the game harassing Edu's wife. That's not going to make him work harder. It's not. He doesn't rate us, you guys. Edu does not rate us. He does not care.
I said it last night, and I didn't even mean it from a comedic way. Arsenal fans are cuckolds. They're cucks because they allow the club to like continually cheat on them, mistreat them, whatever it may be, and are always forgiving them. And then every now and then they're taking their anger out on pawns to away. Edu, maybe doesn't rate you, not doing a great job. Arteta, you know, we know he's all out of his depth. And of course it's right to criticize tactical decisions that he makes. But the football club seemingly don't care. They had opportunities this summer to land some serious targets and they didn't sanction the money to be spent. Instead of the extra 10 to 15 million pounds needed for Maddison, they spent 30 million on Ramsdale as an example. There's an opportunity still to get Aouar done. That deal is still on as of right now, 20 odd million pounds. And it looks like if it does happen, it's going to be left right down to the wire. I understand the need and the necessity to balance the books at football clubs. The likes of Chelsea are doing that brilliantly, but Chelsea are in a very strong position where they're European champions and one of the title favourites. They have that luxury. They already have a strong squad. If your owners cared about you, they would put that money in ahead of time. They would invest some of their own cash, and they don't. And I think that the lack of people showing, and the reason that people didn't show up at the protest yesterday is because that ship has now sailed. There is no mileage on your Instagram account. It doesn't look good anymore. It isn't the talk of the town. Chelsea fans started that little trend. They started the trend after the Super League thing, and Arsenal fans responded amazingly. Man United fans took it up a level, but then where was there to go? It's like the only way now we can actually get traction on socials from being at these protests. Man United broke in. What are we going to have to do? Burn down the Emirates? Like, it got to that point, and then nobody turned up to their next one, and since then it's fizzled away, and I'm not surprised because I don't believe anybody really cared enough to try and get the Cronkies out there wanting to look good on social media. And there's a handful of people out there, there's a handful of content creators, and I would call out Turkish on this, who has been a vehement Cronky out individual from day dot, truly believing what he stands for and what he's trying to do. I believe a lot of the people that tagged along this after the Super League announcement came out, they purely thought, how can I look good on social media? I saw one Arsenal fan celebrating when a picture of him got used in a newspaper. I'm like, why does that matter when you're trying to, you're not there for the right reasons. You're there to try and grow your celebrity, which is a weird concept from my point of view. But in terms of him being sacked, I mean, we've got a poll running right now. How long do you think he should be given? Currently, 36% say sack him now. 31% do say give him the season, but I think that's probably rival fans saying give him the season, to be fair. How much longer do you, like, I want to put you on the spot here, Jess, how much longer are you going to give Mikel Arteta? How much longer do you think he deserves in this job?
Well, I want to be fair and just, at least recognize that there have been some strange, circumstances that have happened since the season has started. Having 4 COVID cases, Willian, Runnerson, who don't really matter, but Aubameyang and Lacazette make a big difference. And then in the very next game, you have Ben White, you don't have Odegaard. Those things do make a difference. Without a 10, we are a cross and hope type of team. So I do take that into consideration, that he needs to be able to get some of his key players back, Thomas Partey, Gabriel, Aubameyang, Odegaard in this team, and then see what we can do from there. My issue is that the season is not going to go the way people think it is. COVID cases are going to run rampant through the Premier League. Like, there are no bubbles anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had somebody out every week. And it just so happens that our best players tend to get injured more than the others. So if he has to have perfect settings in order to put out a team that's competitive and can win a game, then I fear for him. So I would say 10 games. At that point, he should have had some of his players back, able to play together, gelled together, and then we can see what we got. Nobody can really deny that on the back end of last season, when he had more of his players, especially Odegaard, we were a lot better, more competitive, had a lot of positive results. So I would say 10 games. That takes you to right about the end of October. And then if we're still not in European places and not 4 points off of European places, like firmly in them, then you get a new manager. I mean, I think you have to give him a chance to get his players in, because these are outstanding circumstances. He didn't have Aubameyang, Lacazette. That means you're relying on kids. That's serious stuff. But at the same time, like, we have to be realistic, and it's not always going to be perfect. So what he did yesterday just was such a novice move. Like, I can't believe the way that he set up the team yesterday. So if those things continue, then in October, we'll see where we are. But that's how long I would give him. Because, December at the latest. It's not if, Terry, it's when for me. I don't think he makes it. I really don't.
I totally understand that, and I think it makes complete sense. I mean, I've got the poll running on Twitter as well, and I mean, again, 40% saying he needs a season, but I've seen a couple of big Chelsea accounts, big up yourselves, Uber Chelsea, for commenting on it. I think there's a lot there that are pushing for that. I think most Arsenal fans know the writing on the wall. There's a comment here that says Arsenal are in danger of becoming an irrelevant Premier League team who will just be seen as another mediocre club, making up the numbers. And we spoke about that yesterday, and that isn't even like a bit of banter. That legitimately could happen.
That's where we are now. I mean, people have to, we haven't been relevant in a long time, and in comparison to our history, which is what people mostly think about. They don't think about, the Premier League is more competitive and there's more money and there's more competition. They don't think about that. They just think Arsenal used to win things and now we're not. We used to win the Premier League, now we don't. So yeah, we have been irrelevant for a very long time, and it's just now really hitting the fan. And personally, I just feel like we need to go through some sort of rebuild, and I'm okay with the young players. I like the players that we brought in. My thing is, I like what we're trying to do, but I think the people running it are incompetent. Edu and Arteta, they're not prepared to put together this youth project, and it'll take time. I like that approach. They're just not like the project, don't like the people in charge. And I think at some point, the Crunkies will realize that they're not the guys for the job. They should know it by now. Edu has made a joke of this window. Like, he makes absolutely no sense, in my opinion. So, yep. But it'll take longer. Like, they'll wait to sack Edu and Arteta till it's too late, No,
and I agree. And AMT says here, a cheap and experienced coach is better than a cheap and inexperienced coach. And I think that's key. The lack of experience here is really telling for Mikel Arteta. We have some more super chats. Myron says Arsenal are a 6th to 8th club now. Better that fans better fans own that. Can't punish Arteta for meeting expectations. And that's also an interesting point. I've given this example before, and it's relevant to this. When I worked in banking, the bank I worked for used to push this notion out: if we want to score 10 out of 10 on customer survey scores, and they pushed it into the customer facing network, and it was everywhere you went. The word 10 was everywhere. We've got to push for this, push for that, blah blah blah. Well, until a few years later, when I moved into a more senior role, when I found out that the money that the organization committed to achieving this in terms of staffing, training, improving systems so that customers were happy, was an only enough amount of money was being spent to realistically achieve about 6 out of 10. What they then relied on was the staff to go that extra mile to push those numbers up. But they were actually happy as a company if they were about 7.5 to 8. But they didn't tell us that, right? They wanted you striving for 10. I feel like Arsenal Football Club are doing that. They're spending the money to be 6th to 8th. They talk about maybe pushing for top 4. But there isn't that realization from the fans yet that that's where you are as a football club in the way that you're behaving. And that is very true as well. Jack here says, no more excuses. Arteta is not good enough. There is no game plan, regardless of the players taking part. Arteta out. At least try and get Conte. And that's the question I wanted to bring up. I mean, we spoke about this on yesterday's show, Jess, and of course you were running your own thing on She Knows Arsenal. And I'd love to get your opinion on that. Do you think Antonio Conte is a realistic next manager for Arsenal Football Club?
Come on now. You guys, no, not realistic. And, people will say, I was actually talking to somebody about this morning, and they said, because I don't think Conte would come in, that I'm accepting mediocrity. No, I'm not. The club has accepted mediocrity. Like, it's not about what I want. Of course, I'd prefer, a winning manager that wants us to be like winning the Premier League tomorrow. But do we have the facilities and the structure to allow that to happen with a manager of his quality? Absolutely not. He is the type of manager that wants to come in, restructure everything so that it's geared to winning then, right that moment. It's a short-term plan to win right then. We don't have that right now. We don't even have a DOF that could get those jobs done. Like we're not, the Cronkies are not going to spend that. They're not going to pay to get his butt in the seat because Conte costs money. You're going to have to pay off Arteta and pay him. They're not going to do that. They're not going to give him $250 million to get experienced players in. He likes prime age players, if not just a little bit post-prime experienced players, that he can bring in that are ready to go. We have a team full of kids. ESR, Saka, Lokonga, Tierney, Gabriel, all these players are binned. Like, so for me, it's not realistic for multiple reasons, but mostly because he's going to want to win now. And the Cronkies want a slow rebuild with young players and a young manager. He wouldn't be attractive to them. I remember them saying that they thought Allegri was arrogant because he came in and said, how much money do you have? Because I don't want this team. We're not going to get Conte in. So it's not really about what I want. And I don't think it's realistic at all. I think Arteta goes and we're shopping in the Potter, Hasenhüttl aisle. We're not going to be going after Conte.
That's exactly where you are. I think it's a brilliant answer and I think a fair one as well. We had an Arsenal fan yesterday actually even saying that those managers are not even good enough for Arsenal and he wants even better. He then suggested Thierry Henry, which I thought was absolutely out there. Maria Williams here says, no salt, seriously. Arsenal's issues are threefold: manager, owner, recruitment. There's another super chat we've just had that's come through here. That's from Love Liverpool that says, for the love of God, I'm tired of this Arsenal BS. Let's talk about a club that is up and coming and relevant like Arsenal is. History is what Love Liverpool has got to say. We are moving the subjects on now anyway. We are talking transfers. If you want, we're going to open up the lines very soon for you to come on and have your say. Make sure that like button has been smashed. We're here to talk about anything you want. Get your super chat questions in as well. But before that, we do have some breaking news on the way for you. We do. Sorry, my screen that I was about to share has stopped suddenly being shared. I hate when that happens. It actually drives me insane. I don't know how I stopped the share, but I did. Someone here says, facts, dead club. I actually agree with what you said, Jess. That's why I come to the football terrace. Big up. I mean, yeah, we've just got the best people best content creators in the world at the Football Terrace. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. Just to let you all know, episode 2 of the Friday night on the Terrace is going to be out. It is going to be out this Friday. It's going ahead. Early confirmations. We have got Monstar is joining us in the studio. Daniel is going to be hosting Rocket's parts for us this week because Rocket is away on annual leave. We're also going to be having in the studio, which I'm very, very excited about indeed. If I could actually get my, again, my Instagram to work properly. Yes, it is. I'm just making sure the person, because we've got Henry White, Spurs fan, who's coming in to have his say as well. KJ's there. Young Samuel the Goon is going to be there, plus many, many more. If you want to get yourself into the studio or on the show, we are looking for Liverpool, City, Arsenal and Chelsea fans to feature in our preview shows and in some of our games and activities on the show. Drop me a DM and get involved. But as I said, that breaking news as we move on to the next talking point. Fabrizio Romano here has tweeted out and confirmed that Jules Kounde has an agreement on personal terms with Chelsea until 2026. Since weeks, we know this. He is ready to join the club if the two clubs can reach an agreement, but he'll be respectful with Sevilla, not forcing his move. Zuma to West Ham is key. Talks ongoing on personal terms. Not a major update, but the fact that the Zuma news has started to come thick and fast in recent days should be a real positive for many of you. It's a deal that I'm pretty sure is going to happen. How about yourself, Jules Kounde? Do you think he's going to be? Do you think he'll come into Chelsea, and do you think he'll be a success?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't come. Like, Chelsea usually get their business done. So, as long as Zuma makes his way to West Ham or whatever, it's fine. Will he be a success? I think the kind of foundation that Chelsea has will allow him to be bedded in properly, so he doesn't have a lot of stress on him. He'll need some adaptation time, but I don't think it'll feel like he's just out there to dry. He'll probably play in a back three, which any little issues that he has will kind of cover that up a little bit. And I mean, who wouldn't do well with, like Rudiger next to you and Thiago Silva next to you and Azpilicueta maybe on the right side of you. So I think there's enough foundation there for him to come in, adapt, and be successful without pressure. So, and he's a very, very good player, definitely a different type of center back than Zuma. And they probably need this type of more ball-playing center back that can also play, right side of a three, right back if you need, even probably defensive center midfield. Very modern player, which Zuma is a very traditional type of center back, which is really not what you want. So yeah, I think he's going to be successful. Really good sign-in. Why not?
I agree. And for everyone asking what's going on with it, it's a situation it's been in for weeks. Chelsea believed there was an agreement with Sevilla. It was going to be Zuma plus cash or all in cash. Chelsea believed that Zuma would either go and do the swap deal or at that point would move on to West Ham. It felt like it was a slam dunk, but the deal fell through. They then put a lot of time and effort into the Lukaku situation, which of course resolved last week. As we reported on the Football Terrace back then, Chelsea would now increase their efforts towards Jules Kounde. They're going to use the next few days to really try and accelerate. This part of the window is always really difficult because teams have to start gearing up for games. And I don't know if you realize over the course of the weekends, the transfer news goes really quiet. The games finish and suddenly they accelerate again. So the next 3 days are massively key up until about Thursday to try and push this deal through. The player still wants to come. He's respecting his club, though, and he has to, because if Zuma just pulls the plug tonight on going to West Ham, the Jules Kounde deal could fall through. Chelsea need to balance those books. So there's a lot riding on it. Neil here says, Terry, what happened yesterday morning? Watch Football Terrace, that gone. I don't know what you mean, brother. Try rewriting that for me and maybe it'll make sense. Tapas here. Tapas Lego Poulos says, Jess, who do you think Arsenal would realistically go for as the next coach? I already kind of mentioned there as the Graham Potters of this world, didn't you? In relation to that. Kounde, Tchouameni, and Sarr all to be. Can you imagine if they pulled in those three players towards the end of the window? I mean, it'd be sickening. Can you imagine? Do you know what I mean? Everyone else is scrapping about after an extra player or two. There is another bit of Arsenal news, though, that I wanted to speak about. So when it comes to Arsenal, according to Fabrizio Romano, I saw this report in Football.London there is this possibility of Hassim Aouar to come in before the end of the season. I wanted to ask you, because I saw your tweet that I retweeted yesterday about you'd love a panic buy right about now. I did love that notion that you'd like a panic buy. I get where you're coming from. Would Hassim Aouar quench your thirst for an additional player? Is that good enough?
Man, I was talking to my friends about this morning. I was like, whoa, we need something and we need it now, and I was looking at the midfield yesterday and I just thought, wow, that is just so weak and like nowhere near where we need to be. So I was thinking like not getting Basuma just looks so dumb at this moment. It really does, doesn't it? Having Granit Xhaka as the pillar of your midfield and Thomas Partey with the injury issues that he has, it's just not good enough. Lukonga was trying to run our midfield yesterday. That's how bad it is, right? So Hassim Aouar doesn't really fit that for me. I think we need competitiveness, somebody who can kind of push their weight around, a little bit more sprinty, can add some defensive stability and take Granit Xhaka's spot. But if we can't get a Basuma, which I think is completely out of the question now that you've re-signed Granit, Aouar would be a good signing. I can't imagine we're not interested in him after we were interested in him last season. He's a good versatile player, could play in a pivot, can play off of the left side in a 3, can play off the left wing. And so at the price that he's at, and with the doom and gloom that will happen if he ends up going to Spurs, absolutely, I would take him in a second. And it keeps us from having to rely on Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka to really just handle all the creativity in our team. So, yeah, I would definitely take him. Attitude issues or not, I think that's so overblown. His underlying metrics are insane. If he could just add end product, he's going to be a star. And I think he fits the technical quality that we need in our team, which we lack. So, of course, I'd take him. It doesn't feel like a panic buy, though. It wouldn't feel like it.
No, look, I don't think a panic buy now would only be for a player that you haven't really been linked with, and it's just out of the blue, out of nowhere. As an example, then you could look at it. But if you end up landing one of these players you've been linked with, if miraculously you landed Martinez or Aouar, Max Aarons or something, you've been linked with them. I wouldn't necessarily call them panic buys, but it's going to be interesting, really, because of course this is the last. I feel like if you'd have lost yesterday to a Norwich, then maybe the necessity, you need to spend more. Because you're getting beat by Chelsea and maybe then beat this weekend by Man City, there's almost this notion of, we're probably expected to lose those games. So it's almost the season starts next week, if that makes sense. It's almost like what you maybe would have preferred is to add those easier games to see where you were and maybe lost them rather than losing the Chelsea game, because it might have triggered the board into something.
The funny thing is that last season we did the exact same thing. We beat Fulham. We barely beat West Ham. Then we had Liverpool and City like back to back, and we lost both of those. And it was, it's Liverpool and it's City. Then we continued to lose games after that. So, I mean, it's a perfect excuse really for Arteta they're way better than us. We didn't have our main players, COVID, but those excuses are going to run out. So I do think that we need to buy players and Traore seems to be on his way out. We have some players moving on. So there's no excuse.
And this is, you're bang on, absolutely bang on. And this is where Arsenal fans, and I'm not calling out any names because I don't like to, I don't want beefs. But I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans on socials in the last 6 weeks, but we can't buy before we sell. If the players leave and you then don't go and spend money, this is the cuckold moment. This is your club cheating on you again. This is your club not only cheating on you, they're making you watch and they're making you run out and buy food for both the stud and them after the act is done. Do you know what I mean? You're giving them a lift home. You're helping them into the shower to clean up. Like, it's legitimately, it's almost abuse levels now. If they sell Nketiah, I even saw people saying, we need 20 million for Nketiah. Why? He's average as hell. But if you sell Nketiah, Traore leaves, let's say you move one other player on. If that money isn't reinvested in one of these individuals that you've just been shy of a few £1 million of buying. So again, that for me is where I want to see Arsenal fans stand up, step up, kick off, fight back and push back. If they don't and they just take it on the chin, I'm at a point where I'm losing sympathy for you. Do you know what I mean? You've got an opportunity here to pack his bags, pack her bags, and make him move out. I don't think you're going to do that. I think you're going to iron his shirt. I think you're going to make her dinner. I think you're going to say it's okay and stroke her head as she falls to sleep. I do, and I know it. Like it's. I'm not
This
trying to be funny with
analogy is just wild.
it's truth. Arsenal fans that are buying them season tickets but moaning are cuckolds. They're cuckolds. They are watching. They're watching their club be shafted, but they're putting up with it for some weird reason. It's like, it's okay, mate. Like it's ridiculous. It's what they are. It's a madness to me. Super Chat here says the issue is Arsenal are buying players that cannot improve. It's so upsetting because these young players would improve if they had better coaching.
I agree with that. That's why I said the project is perfectly fine, but Arteta and Adu don't have the ability to get this project really going, because some people are still saying that Arteta has improved Saka and ESR. He hasn't. They were good when he got here.
I hear you. David here says if the Kroenke spent 50 million more on top of 130 million, Arteta still won't field a competitive team. For me, it's easy. Arteta out, love Jess, but disagree. I know you've got to shoot pretty soon because I know you're committed to be somewhere else. Terrible. But, right, I'm messing. I wanted to speak about Tottenham because Tottenham are linked with Traore from Wolves, very talented player, but for around 40 million. They're also linked with this young wonder kid, Sarr, as well, where I've read that terms have been agreed. It's literally pending a medical now. They're doing some business, Spurs. Like they're getting in some seriously good players. As their biggest, a fan of their biggest rivals, how do you view their business right now?
Well, the Romero thing is a good it's a good signing. Like I won't throw salt on it. I do think that there's people that have never seen him play that now regard him as something that he's not, but he is a good player. So I'll give you that. When it comes to Traore, I've always felt like, down my timeline yesterday was all Traore is doing this, Traore is doing that. I checked the score and Spurs still won. And he has no end product. And that's a him issue. That's not if he gets in a better team, it's going to change. He's been playing for Wolves for what, 3 seasons, and he has not improved his end product. He's a weapon. If he could get some end product, he would be very, very dangerous. But in terms of like, is he worth 40 million with the end product that he's shown? You look at somebody like Diego Jota who went for less. He has end product. Traore doesn't. I think you're kind of, if you're willing to spend the 40 million, it is what it is. I don't rate him that highly. I don't. But would it make them more scary on paper? Absolutely. Absolutely, it would. And Nuno knows the player, so I'm sure that has something to do with it. So that may be good business for them. But if we were linked with him, I'd be like, the guy has no end product. He just doesn't,
Yeah.
So there is that.
And already having Pepe and like Lacazette and the like, it just be, you don't need any more mans that are firing blanks. Like it's like you just don't. That's not a dig. It's truth there. It is a truth. But
dig, low-key, though, the way you said it.
Little bit of a dig. A little bit of a dig. Have you got to go now?
Like 15 minutes.
Oh, you got 15 minutes. Cool. That's it's 6, not quarter. I don't know why I thought it was 1:45. That's absolutely cool. We're going to jump into some calls now, though, ladies and gentlemen. We want to hear about your thoughts on Tottenham's transfer activity. We want to know about what Arsenal may do in the remainder of the window. If you want to speak Jules Kounde to Chelsea, if you want to give an opinion on that, please feel free to. Main talking point today is Mikel Arteta. Should he be sacked now? Should he be given more game time? What would you do if you were in charge? I don't want to hear what the club might do. I want to hear what you as a fan think and feel and would do. No Matt Hancock's coming on the show. Well, actually, I would like to do this, but there's no point in me giving you my opinion because it won't happen. What's the point of ever speaking about anything then that you don't control? That means literally you're going to be a mute. You'll be silent for life, bruv. So phone up now and give us your thoughts, give us your feelings. I've already shared the link with our legends and super fans. I'm going to share it in our live comment section now if you want to phone in and ask myself or Jess any questions. If you're watching over on Twitter, and I know some of you are watching on Twitter, I've just replied with the comment below the stream that you are watching if you want to dial up and have your say. Spurs' best signing is Santos.
Oh, Nuno Espirito?
Oh, Santo, you mean, my friend? Yeah, there's no S on his name. I don't believe. I should know that. I should know that. I did enhanced due diligence on him once upon a time. That was fun. Anyway, let's jump into these calls. KJ's backstage. Gunnar King's backstage. Finley Haplin is backstage. Faza is backstage as well. I can't ever say his name right. I'm going to call him. What am I going to call him? Kendall. Is that our Kendall or a different Kendall? Kendall.o's coming on. I don't know who that is, but hello. And then hang on. Oh, there's something dodgy going on here. Someone called Kendall come in backstage, and straight after, as if they're in the same place together, Donny James came into the back room as well. Just saying, Donny James and Kendall, football terrace marriage. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Right, we're going to jump into these calls now, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, Kendall, I'm only winding you up. Let's do this, people. First up on the show, KJ is joining us. Smash that like and share button. Let's go. Yes, KJ, what you saying, bro?
Yeah, it's good to be in the presence of the owner of the football terrace and Terry. It's always good. It's always good.
I'm starting this one again. Do you know what
I
mean?
mean? I'm running this to the end of time. Don't worry.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to get your take on. I know we spoke about it yesterday, and they went through it Midnight Vibes, but you've had a bit of time to reflect. You know, a lot of people today, all the videos have emerged of the fans. They're really going after Mikel Arteta, really like putting pressure on Edu and people to move out and move on and get away from the football club. Like, what's your take on this? Do you feel like it's right for the fans to be doing this? Do you think it's going to put the right kind of pressure upon, the right kind of pressure? Do you think that's then going to be applied to the club to make them change their mind? Or do you think it's all just a lot of piss and wind and a lot of energy being wasted? You know, it's not going to make any major difference. So just crack on with how things are. Like, what's your take on this, KJ?
I think first of all,
oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I think first of all, the abuse that his Eddie's family's been getting is appalling. Like, we need to, as football fans, there's too much privilege to feel like you can say anything to anyone that you want, and that needs to stop. Even with the whole thing with the whole Marseille and Nice thing, fans need to relax themselves. Remember that you are just a person. You're just someone who's spectating a sport, and that's all we are. Yes, we can have our opinions, and yes, we are allowed to voice them. So I don't see anything wrong with directly trying to get Mikel Arteta's attention or potentially get Eddie's attention and ask them questions respectfully. But the way that some fans have been going about it recently is just a disgrace. So relax yourselves. Like, remember who you are. Like, you know what I mean? Like, as I said, I'm in that vibes. Sometimes fans need a punch in the mouth. Like, that's all I'm saying. Just to remember who we are. So yeah, keep it respectful. In terms of will it work? Well, the only people that really can do anything about it is the Cronkies, because they're the employers. So yes, there's only so much going after Edu and so much going after Arteta that a fan base can do before it gets to the point of, well, they can't sack themselves. They're not going to resign. You know what I mean? They're not going to resign just because you say so. So you need to really go after Josh Kroenke and Stan Kroenke and the people who actually run the club and be like, listen, these people are not good enough. So you are the people that we need to talk to, not them, because they're employees at the end of the day. So yeah, Arsenal fans should start redirecting their energy. Restart redirecting their energy to the people who hire them personally, but I know that's again hard to do in this world.
No, I hear you on that, mate, and I think it is going a little bit too far with the way they've done things. Just to confirm, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, on Friday, Jem will be in the studio with us. Man like Rack, the Liverpool fan, Rack's going to be in there repping Liverpool Football Club as well. So we're starting to fill the studio out nicely as well for number 2. And I have been assured that the sound quality will be better this time, which is what we need. We're going to add our first caller of the show. We're going to go to, I was about to add him and he seems to have disappeared. Myron was back. Myron Phillips is back. So instead, we're going to go to Gunnar King. Gunnar King, what you saying, bro?
How's it going? You all right?
Yeah, all good, my man. What do you want to say?
Yeah, just disappointed after yesterday. I think Casey was summed up quite well there, where I think some of the angst amongst our fan base is misdirected, or is solely directed at Arteta in a way that I think is excessive. But that's not to say that I don't think he's doing a good job, or that he hasn't made mistakes. There aren't shortcomings in his ability, but I think the problems were there long before him, and even if we were to get rid of him today, they would be here long after him. So long as there aren't changes, sort of in the behaviours of the ownership. Essentially, they're not hiring the right people across the board, to run this football club from top to bottom. And I think we forget that is not solvable by just changing your manager. You've got to have changes in approaches, in the operational side of the football business. And I just think at the moment I'm seriously worried for the state of our club. Having City next isn't the best game to have either. And there's a lot of work that we need to do before next Tuesday.
I totally agree with you, and I think Arsenal fans should be worried, but then it's weaponizing that in the right way. And I think going after Mikel Arteta's car is the wrong energy. The energy should be all those fans that are there at the game. You've just fed the beast that's creating the problem that allows someone like Mikel Arteta to run your club. The irony is you're shouting at a symptom of the problem that you are helping to create. You are feeding that beast, and that beast is going around biting people. It's like,
you're mad at a first-time manager coaching like a first-time manager. Like, he shouldn't be there. You know what I mean? Like, what do you expect from a first-time manager? He's going to be terrible. So he's going to make a big mistake.
This is what I mean. People think these managers are like flipping Mugabe and hold the club at gunpoint to make sure that they get the job. Like, no, like they go for an interview and then the club decides if they're gonna hire them or not. So again, Mikel Arteta did not force Arsenal to hire him. So going after him so much for so long makes no sense.
It completely and utterly. Gunner King, thanks for coming on, mate, and having your say. Really appreciate it, bro. Top man. Speak to you again soon. Thank you for turning up on Friday as well. Meant a lot to me. Thank you.
No worries.
Cheers, bro. Thank you. Next on the show, we're gonna go to. Who am I gonna go to here? I'm gonna go to Alan Foster, who's coming on the show with us now. Welcome to the back to the terrace, mate. What do you want to say? You're on mute, my friend. You're on mute. You got to unmute yourself. Oh, he kicked himself out. I don't know what he did there. We have a super chat here, actually, that says, Terry, have you heard the Ronaldo news via Fabrizio on Twitch? He only moves to English clubs playing in the Champions League. Do you know what's really interesting, right? There was a situation with Ronaldo where he kind of put that post out the other day saying there's no thought of me leaving Juve. There was those links last week where Man City were mentioned that were quashed, but they've kind of not completely gone away. Like there's still there's these little, if you just like research across social, there's these little rumblings where you can just hear just in the background. I wouldn't be surprised if he moved. He's very unlikely to go Paris Saint-Germain. He could go back to Real Madrid if they can afford to pay him. Like, would I be shocked if a City or even a Man United, I wouldn't be shocked if someone just out of nowhere pulled this deal off. These things can get done. And in terms of getting commercial backers to help you, I learned today that's legit, bruv. And I'll talk about that behind the scenes. Something I got told today. I was like, oh, that's mad that we can do that.
Terry, it says playing in the CL. Conference League is also CL. So it's Spurs.
I mean, maybe Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? Playing in that. No, he meant LC League Cup. League
Cup. Yes.
Tuesday night.
Terry, I gotta go.
See you later on. I'll see you in a bit. Myron is now here with us on the show. What you saying, buddy?
Hey Terry, how's it going, man? Good day.
Yeah, very good, brother. Very good. What do you want to say?
I just wanted to get a little bit of the Arteta talk going, man. I've changed my mind since last time, and I think he needs to stay. This is levels, and this is where they belong. They need to, 6th through 8th. Like, who's really disappointed here? That's what Kroenke wants. You think Kroenke wants them to be like challenging? You think he wants the investment to put in the investment necessary to challenge for top four? The financial return just doesn't pan out. I think he's found a spot where there's an equilibrium between investment and return, kind of like he's figured out with the NFL, where he can just stabilize an asset without a whole lot of upfront investment. And he's just, basically he's just using it as liquidity. He's a businessman. He's not thinking about Arsenal, the football club. Do you think he gives two damns who's running the transfer policy? No, he doesn't care. Exactly. He does not care at all. This is a business.
And then, do you know what the nails hit on the head there the most? This is where fans annoy me with their belly aching, because he only cares about the liquidity, the money, the asset. If you destroy the money, the asset, by not going, by not buying, by boycotting, and not, it stops Kroenke behaving the way that he behaves. Like when people only care about money, you hurt them by taking their money away. Like it legitimately works. The only times you ever see companies come out and say they're sorry is when they're worried about losing money. The only time you really get anything, even at sports clubs, the only time they come out, do you know what? We've been called out on something. We'll lose sponsorships if we don't say that's wrong. Do you get what I mean? Like, and it depends on who your sponsorship is. Sometimes your sponsorship are from certain parts of the world where you can't suddenly criticize these bad things, and they don't criticize it. And the NBA gets criticized for that, for stuff to do with China. Now, I don't know about it, but it's like there's bad stuff going on there, but they don't say anything because a lot of their investment comes from it. Exactly. So when people care about money, you hit them where their pocket is. But Arsenal fans are cuckolds, and they don't care enough about their club. If you're putting money into that club, and you're allowed, they do. Kroenke is shagging their wives, and they are making him a cup of tea afterwards, and they're paying him. They're paying him to shag their wives. It's mad.
You know what? They think that if they put up with this phase, and that maybe if they just do iron the shirts and they just do, the laundry, and they keep this person around for a little bit, they're actually going to get the person back that they love. No, Arsenal of the early 2000s is never coming back. You're never going back to the way things used to be. You're living in a new paradigm. So you need to break what you said is you need to exert power. Go after their advertisers. The president of Rwanda is not impressed. I'm sure you can find other ways to get in between them and their bottom line. Make a stink, make it hurt, hit them in the pocketbook. You'll make change happen. Don't complain.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like I said yesterday, and I'll stand by it. There's only two things Arsenal fans can do: is that either you actually form the resistance for for Arsenal and stop going and start buying merchandise, or you accept Arsenal for what it is.
I hope they stay the same.
And just be like, right, okay, cool. We are now mid-table. We are now Everton. We're now Leeds and Aston Villa. So we will support like Leeds, Aston Villa, and Everton, and just be happy that you're in the Premier League. You know what I'm saying? Like those are the two options they got here. You can't be expecting. For me, I don't think Arsenal fans should be expecting to get into Champions League, to challenge for the title, while their club is the way that it is, and you're just sitting there giving your money. It makes no sense. You know what I mean? So
don't care for them. Yeah, we say man the barricades or shut up. But don't sit here and cry to me about how we're not living in 2005 anymore. And I don't know. It seems really entitled. And as someone who supports a club that's been hated since I support this club because they were hated. And I love the banter and stuff like that. So, if you're going to come with, the Arsenal fans used to come with a lot of energy, and, you're going to kind of reap the rewards. I mean, Man U fans remember what it was like, when you guys lost Sir Alex. So they're going to go through a banter period. They're going to bounce back up to be around 6th, maybe 5th.
Do you know
and that's their new life.
Do you know what's interesting about it, mate? We're going to keep you on as well by popular demand. The audience wants you to stay, so we're going to keep you on the panel for the rest of the show, brother. We listen to our fans here. I remember doing a video during the beginning of the transfer window about a potential another bid from Daniel Ek. And I spoke to a big Arsenal content creator, and I said, how comes none of you have covered this story today? And it bombed, by the way. It did about 3,000 views, which is really small considering everything else was hitting between 15 to 20,000 at that time period. So much, much smaller. And he said, oh yeah, the interest is gone. It's not what Arsenal fans want to listen to. And it made me sit back and really think around. So as content creators about Arsenal, you're only going to put out news that is going to get traction. And I agree with. I understand why you do that. It's a business, right? Business decisions. But the reason that there isn't this notion to boycott the club, run away from sponsors, I even honestly think the big social media accounts stop covering Arsenal. Don't give Arsenal Football Club any attention or whatsoever. Instead of tweeting about Arsenal, tweet about the Antiques Roadshow or a soap opera that you watch. Like almost create an environment where Arsenal become null and void. And I'll do Arsenal fans, I'll do all the big Arsenal accounts a favor. I will follow suit and not cover Arsenal on the terrace. In that, so I will do it in unity with you. None of us cover Arsenal. We make them irrelevant. That irrelevance damages their pockets because I want the Cronkies out as much as Arsenal fans because football is part of the fabric of my country. And it's the one thing about my country. It's one of the very few things that we've built and created that I'm very, very proud of. And I don't like seeing it be destroyed. And I think what they've created, you're bang on, is that they've created this balance of we're making enough money out the club without having to invest to try and win it and not being in the Champions League. They've got this almost this equilibrium perfect. That isn't in the nature of sport. That actually flies in the face of the integrity of the game because they're just using it to make money as an asset to prop up other ventures that they have. I'll stand with them. But until Arsenal fans, and I know that some will get triggered by what I'm going to say and think I'm calling them out personally. It ain't about any one individual person. Until Arsenal fans grow a legitimate backbone, it isn't ever going to change. By the way, if you want to go to games, if you want to go there and do that, I'm not judging you.
Yeah, more power to you.
More power to you. But if you continue to go, they are going to continue to treat you this way. We're joined now by a man like Harry. It's been a while since he's been on the channel. Great to have him back. Welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
Hey, come on now, Mr.
Hey,
DJ.
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, brother. Good.
What it's been a while. It's been a while.
What are you going to say, brother?
Well, I mean, trying to maybe provide a little bit more of context or perspective if I can. I appreciate that right now a lot of Arsenal fans are hurt and our ego is going to be really, really hurt. And if we're being brutally honest, we're going to go into this international break with 0 points, 0 goals scored, a lot of memes, a lot of clubs mocking us, and that's going to really, really hurt. But if we're being honest, each game there are really strange circumstances surrounding the Brentford defeat. And yesterday we were just well and truly beaten by the better team. So I think we need to brace ourselves for the Man City game because let's be real, that could be a real humbling, right? A real humbling. But I don't think the board's stance changes on Arteta. I think they showed last season, if they were ever going to sack him, last season was a good opportunity to sack him. They backed him and he kind of turned it around. And I said this last night on Sheena's Arsenal, whether it's right or wrong, metaphorically, our season starts against Norwich after the international break. That's when it starts because this Man City game is going to be a write-off. And I know that's starting the season with 3 defeats and -9 points or 0 points, as it were. But after Norwich, we have a nice run of fixtures where we should be able to get some wins and get some confidence. And if we don't, if we lose to Norwich, then Arteta really is on the edge, But I do believe that he'll turn it around. And that good form will start against Norwich. But as for Man City away, I mean, if we're having a meltdown after Chelsea, then, just get ready for next weekend because we are going to get torn a new one. We really are.
No, I don't think you guys will melt down because, again, you've got the Pep Arteta agreement where it's like Arteta will give you literally. Arteta will give you guys give Man City the win, and Man City just take it a bit easy on you guys. You know what I mean? Maybe only 3 goals max, and that's it. That's what agreement that goes on between those two. You can see it.
There'll be a little wink. Pep will wink at Arteta, and it's like, now's the time to stop. Yeah, we can stop now. It's like, cool. 3-0's enough. 3-0's enough.
That's a really compelling and I think very optimistic narrative for this season. And I would completely buy into that if I was an Arsenal fan. But my question is a little bit more like over the past 6 years, what do you see that tells you that this club are going to finish higher than 8th or 6th this year? Or that they want to?
Just probably blind hope, blind optimism. Blind faith in Arteta. I think we can challenge top 4 this year. I know it seems really, really bold. At the minute, it's all so down and gloom. But I think we can push 6th and 5th place. I mean, we finished 6 points off top 4 last year. Liverpool finished 4th last year, and I think they lost 9 games or 10 games. So I totally appreciate that this is a really bad start to the season. But we won't be making European football by beating the top 4. We'll make European football by beating everyone else. So we need to make sure that the Brentford game is a separate thing and it's something that doesn't happen repeatedly. We can lose against the top 4, home and away. we can still make European football, making sure we beat the likes of Brentford, and that's where we need to improve. And if you're Arteta, if you want this manager to succeed, you'll use the circumstances, COVID, injuries, and if you don't, you won't use those circumstances. I want Arteta to succeed, so I'm going to say that we went to that Brentford game in really weird circumstances, a lot of players missing, and that is why we lost the game.
Then I understand why you say what you say. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
We weren't good enough to beat Chelsea, and we're not going to be good enough to beat Man City. But we should be good enough to beat Norwich.
Yeah, and then when you get beat 2-0 by Norwich, I just can't.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm never coming on again. You'll never hear from me again.
The reason I like Harry is because I know Harry goes to games and Harry supports Arsenal the way that he does. But at the same time, Harry is not a virtue signaler. He doesn't like scream about the Cronkies every 30 seconds. Doesn't moan about every aspect of the club and says that it's poisonous and it's destroying him and all these things, and then goes and does that. Not always. That's why I like the opinion. It's he's not doing it for the gram. Do you know what I mean? Speaking of passionate Arsenal fans who flip flops like he's on a beach in Ibiza, Egal is here with us now to have his say. How you doing, bro? Oh, we think he's frozen. There he is. How you doing, Egal?
I'm good. Did you just say I'm a flip-flop?
Yes, Mr. Havana.
Okay. I'm pretty sure as an educated man yourself, you'd say once you get new evidence, you're going to change your opinion on a step.
I would also say, as an intelligent man, Egal, learn to read the room. It was a joke, but yeah, I hear you.
No, I get that. I'm just throwing it back at you.
Oh, sorry. Oh, like that. Okay.
Okay.
What are you here to say, my brother?
All right. People, let's be real. Let's be real. Going into this Chelsea game, a lot of the same people who are losing their mind are the same people who predicted us to lose this game. Even myself, I went into this game saying to myself, you know what? Let's do the reverse judge like KJ does, and let's just predict a loss. Because at the end of the day, if it works, we win. If we lose, it's expected to lose. This is not the game where we should be upset. This is not the game where we should be drawing conclusions to everything that's going down for the whole entirety of the season. The game that we should look at and draw comparisons from is the Villarreal game from last season. The game that we should be looking at is the first game of the season against Brentford. And the games that we should be looking at where we should say this is the litmus test of how bad we actually are those bad performances that we've had at the back end of last season when it really mattered. Right now, first 2 games of the season is much the same of last season, and that tells you that it hasn't gotten much better. But as hot and cold as Arsenal are, I get where Harry's coming from. We are a team that we can lose 10 games in a row and then have title-winning form at the end of the season when there's no pressure, and just somehow get back into the race for stuff. So I know last season was terrible. This season is going to be much the same if we don't do anything in the back end of the window. And at this point, I don't think we're going to do much near the end of the window. So it's going to be much the same. Unfortunately, the energy is thrown at the wrong people. People are getting at Edu's wife, Edu's family. People are getting at Arteta throwing stuff at his getting in front of his car. Josh Kroenke was at the stadium yesterday. You had an opportunity as the whole crowd was there. Everybody who says they're Kroenke out, categorically, majority of the fans say they're Kroenke out. Josh Kroenke was in the building, and there was a marching band in the stadium. There was people with energy throughout the whole night for the team, and nobody actually showed up to any protest. Nobody actually showed up to any event that is even trying to get rid of the Kroenkes. At this point, we are not a working man's club. We are not Manchester United. We are not Chelsea. We're not Liverpool. When we say we're going to do something as a collective, we don't do it. We are so divided, nobody is ever going to unite us unless we start winning things. And that's the reality of the situation. We need to stop looking at the manager. We need to stop looking at the owner. We need to stop looking at Edu and these guys and look at ourselves and lower our expectations when we know things are not good. You're not going to beat Chelsea. You're not going to beat Manchester City. We're going to test ourselves against Norwich at this point, because that's the next game I see us winning. I don't see us beating Man City. But if we lose to Man City, you're not going to see me ranting and raving about us losing to Man City, because I expect us to lose to Man City, unfortunately, today. And that's not me lowering my expectations. That's me being realistic, seeing the situation for what it is. I'm not going to continuously say, oh, we're going to beat every team. That's just idiotic. Let's be real.
It does not feel so much better, girl, to finally admit the truth Wonderful.
No, what do you mean finally admit the
Do
truth?
you know what I'll say, Gal? I wanted to say something in relation to a super chat that we got through from GB. GB said, Terry, the board have given Arteta over 200 million in his 2 years here. He has been backed. Josh Kroenke promised the funds and he has delivered. Now, mathematically, that is very, very true. But it's the quality of personnel and how or where that money has been spent. And I do know there are still this expectations argument always gets thrown up with every fan base that's struggling. My expectations are higher than your expectations. This is Arsenal, or this is Man United, or this is Tottenham. One is very weird. But I sort of sit there. No, I mean it. Like there's Spurs fans today literally moaning about the players they're linked with, like they've been winning Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues in the last 30 years. Like you've won 3 trophies in my lifetime. Like I'm 35. That is not, you've got no leg to stand on, I don't think, in that argument. But anyway, like there are some Arsenal fans that think with the money that's been spent with a proper manager, you'd be up there challenging for those expectations. So there's still almost another stage to come in this rebuild of whatever it is. It's Arteta being sacked, a better quality manager coming in, and them not succeeding in the same way. Until everyone knows my belief at football clubs, until a club is run well, generally 90% of the time in every area, you're never going to yield that medium to long-term success. I still think you need another manager to come in that's rated. And every Arsenal fan, 90% of them say, really fancy this guy, really good tactician, good track record, respected, good man management, modern, whatever it may be. And then for them to fail and for their quality of players that they get bought, another 200 million gets spent, but it's on the wrong people. Maybe then the majority will come together and realize that it's about the Kroenkes, because I see a lot of comments like JB's where they say, well, 200 million pounds has been spent on players. But my argument is, like, you didn't have to buy Ramsdale. You could have kept that money and topped up what you spent on Odegaard and landed James Maddison. You could have gone in hell for leather at the beginning of the window and landed Lautaro Martinez. Not only would that have been a better striker than anyone you've got at the club, according to Inter Milan, that would have stopped Chelsea from getting Lukaku. You could have killed a proper club, would have killed 2 birds with 1 stone there. That's what you should be doing as a football club, and you didn't. So I still think there's an element of scrimping and scraping. I have a genuine question for Arsenal fans. Why did Arsenal move on from Arsene Wenger? What was the logic there? I mean, Harry, it's a great question. I mean, do you think it was now a mistake to get rid of Arsene Wenger? Do you think he was actually, maybe it wasn't him that was taking the club backwards, it was more he was stopping the club from sinking?
Look, I mean, it's a hypothetical question, right? Because if Wenger stayed, we don't know where we'd be. You could argue that Wenger still had this aura to attract big players, so the decline may have been less drastic. But I just think it proves that the grass isn't always greener, and we need to maintain a bit of respect. And whilst you want change, if you think about it, if you've wanted Kroenke out for 10 years, I don't know why you trust them with finding the right replacement for Arsene Wenger. You know, they got that wrong straight away. Unai Emery. So then we want Emery out, and now we're going to say, right, get Arteta out. Like, I don't know why, if you don't trust these guys, if they're the worst owners, then why would you just continuously encourage managers to be sacked? What gives you any faith that they will go out and get a Conte? We won't. We'd go out and get a manager of similar level to Arteta who might have the same struggles. If we can go and get a Conte tomorrow or an elite manager, then cool, wonderful. But I don't think we can. So, I mean, look, I didn't want Wenger to leave personally, but I was just happy to see where it went out of loyalty. But it just shows you that, sometimes the grass isn't always greener, and being so toxic and so poisonous and so aggressive and so angry doesn't guarantee you anything. Doesn't make us better. The way we've treated previous managers and current players isn't making us better. Giroud wasn't good enough. Walcott wasn't good enough. All these players that weren't good enough, but we're in a worse position. So let's kind of, enjoy what we have, even though that might be hard. And I personally just think we should learn from how we treated Arsene Wenger and try to have a little bit more decorum about us and see if we can get the good vibes back with Arteta. That's just a hope.
Yeah.
The problem is with that is there's a lot to be gained for people now for behaving in that way. And the irony in it is the original.
So there's a lot of what, sorry?
There's a lot to be gained out of being bullish, aggressive, thuggish, and stuff on socials now. And the problem that you've got is the first crop of social media stars that made it. And I've ranted on camera. I'm not saying you shouldn't rant on camera, but it's gone to a different place now. It used to kind of be a bit tongue-in-cheek and a little bit funny. I see people now and it's like every minute of the day they're on it. Like Man, we've got Man United fans like it now. They can be watching a game of football in a different country that has nothing to do with Man United, and they'll work a way of abusing Ollie with it. You know, Arsenal fans, they work a way of abusing Arteta. It's become so toxic now, and I think it's because there's an attention thing within it. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't have an opinion on him, but I hear what you're saying around that you should learn from how people treated Wenger. But I actually think that's created almost like this base and this foundation for a lot of the behavior that we now see upon social media. It's almost like KJ said earlier, football fans feel like they can just say and do what they want now. Like you can just go up to someone's car and scream and shout in it. And why do they do it? Because actually, you'll probably find those young kids today are buzzing because they're trending across social media for what they did to Arteta, when what they really should be having happen is their mum and dad should be giving them a clip round the ear roll and telling them, you know, that was a disgrace. Like even like the good Troops, an example. Troops, always Arteta, Wenger out. But whenever, I think a couple of times when he met Arteta, he was quite respectful to his face, because actually, no matter what he thinks about Arteta at that moment, he was never going to go up to his face and start screaming and shouting at him, because you don't do that in life. Do you know what I mean? That's because there's a respect thing there. I just feel now that that level of decorum is gone, and it's gone to another level. And look, some people might call me a hypocrite because I've screamed and shouted about people in the past. There's no doubt about it. But as angry as I was with David Moyes, would I have gone up to him in the street and shouted at him? If he's out walking his dog with his wife, I would have left him alone. Why? Because actually in that environment, what am I doing? It isn't like he's done something illegal. It isn't like he's, I don't know, been robbing old lady and old ladies' pensions off of them. Do you know what I mean? The geezer literally just wasn't a very good manager at my club. There's a time and a place, and I think it's certainly gone too far. Sorry, you were going to say something, KJ?
Yeah, just like when Arsenal fans talk about Arsene Wenger now, one song just pops into my head every time. Have you guys heard the song called "The Flood" by Take That?
Yeah.
That's Arsene Wenger.
Do you know what? I think Wenger leaving gave a lot of Arsenal fans a full sense of authority. You know, like their voice is really powerful, and it almost gave them a tick to say, yeah, you can abuse someone, or you can want someone to leave, and it will eventually happen. So I think now the thought is, if we moan at the manager when he's leaving, if we shout things at Edu, there'll be change. But I must say, you know, I was quite fearful going into the Emirates yesterday, and I was pleasantly surprised. I thought our home fans were brilliant. I think they were supportive. The Jeff Shreves interview at Arteta at the end of the game wasn't a fair reflection of the Arsenal fans. There were some boos, but, you know, it really wasn't strong. I didn't hear a lot of Arteta out. I think the fans were brilliant yesterday, and that kind of restored my faith in the Arsenal fan base. So I think the match-going fan, I think the majority of them, you know, are there to focus on supporting the team, and they're aware that if we go in with positivity, we can impact the result. Yesterday, it wasn't to be, but I don't want to generalise all Arsenal fans and say they're all bad, but I just think in general, we can certainly try to be a little bit better.
It's the difference here, isn't it, between like someone...
the last super chat.
1 second ago, go on.
I was just going to say, I think it seems like the main difference between Twitter and real life always, right? You get in, Twitter is so performative. A lot of this outrage is just you showing off for your tribe. You know, here's the bad guy, watch me pile on. But when we're in real life, we're forced to be confronted by other people's humanity. We act in a little bit different way, you know, with the kind of respect, hopefully, that you've been taught in your childhood. But one last minute, because I actually need to drop. I just wanted to say one thing about Arsenal real quick, which is, you know, we need to be pointed with our criticism. We don't want to be laying at Arteta's feet things that are not his fault. And Terry, you made a really good point about that. But there's problems at every single level for Arsenal, because we've already, I think, established the owner's not interested. I think we can see that, you know, the people calling for Arteta out, maybe to squeak an extra few percentage points out of this squad that's already, you know, a young project in the making. So I can understand why changing Arteta is not going to change much. But I think the most important thing is that fans recalibrate, and they you know, you can see the frustration they're trying to express because they understand they don't have any leverage, and they need to either come to the decision, okay, are we actually going to become an activist kind of class? Are we going to go out and, you know, maybe not harass people, but, you know, we're going to interrupt the daily functions? Or are we just going to get behind our team, who are now maybe 8th, maybe 6th, maybe we get a better manager and we're 6th and maybe 5th? You know, and I think that realignment is going to be super tough, and I'm here for it because I have a lot of friends who are Arsenal fans, and I wish you guys luck with that. But that seems to be the state of affairs to me.
No, I hear you on that, bro. Very, very, very well put. Top man. I know you got to shoot off, bro. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, Egal, you wanted to respond to Nabil's super chat that was asking about the transfer window, etc.
Okay, so first of all, the transfer window has not been that good. Let's be real. Yes, we got a lot of bodies in, but majority of them are not starters. They're second options or players that are going to be coming off the bench. So the fact that our first 11 is pretty much the same as last year, I wouldn't give the window anything more than a 5. If we could get a right back in the last couple of days of the window, that would maybe raise it up to a 6 or 7, depending on what level of right back we bring in. Now, when it comes to what he's saying about excuses and logic and using illogical excuses, I don't think I use illogical excuses. Obviously, what I would say I would do is anytime somebody is extremely negative about a situation or extremely to one side, I try to say, hey, bring it back to the middle and let's meet somewhere in the middle, because it's almost like everything is terrible to the point where you can't find any positives of the club. That last year, at the back end of last year, we did perform well, even though the end of December calendar doesn't mean anything to anybody. It did show that when we play well, we have some good players in our team that can turn around their form, and you can get a bunch of wins on the bounce, and that shows you have something there to build off of. But when the season ends and you're going to a new season and you lose 2 games, obviously you're not going to be able to draw any comparisons from what happened last season. But right now, I'm just talking about based off the back end of last season, I've seen enough evidence that something could be pushed forward, but maybe it's just the same mirage every single year that we see at the back end of the end of the seasons.
I understand where you're coming from. I think it's one of these things, like whenever you get into a debate over a player, a manager, a team, there's half of you are going to be right and half of you are going to be wrong. That's the nature of it. There's too much stock put into Joe Bloggs is right about this debate, therefore he's right about everything else. You know, there's a lot of football YouTubers I watch, and I watch their content because I enjoy their opinions. And I sometimes see their fans like put out clips of when they've predicted something a year ago and it's come to fruition. And I'm like, yeah, but I've also heard them say some mad stuff in the past. Like, everyone knows I'm a big fan of Rants. I like the way Rants goes about stuff because he's unyielding and he isn't like, oh, I'll support Ollie at the stadium and say that he's great, but then like I won't when I'm on socials. He's like, I ain't supporting him anywhere. I like and respect that. But this is the same guy that said that Jesse Lingard was as good for Man United as Eden Hazard was for Chelsea. Like, at that moment in time, Lingard was in a great run of form. That was his opinion at the time. Everyone has takes that are... I've certainly said some things that probably resonated with people. I've definitely had some opinions on players. You know, like just before Man United played Crystal Palace, and Zaha is massively hurt, then man goes and scores a brace against them, we lose. These things happen all the time. And I think fans have just got to learn to, one, stand by their opinions, but like viewers don't get so hell-bent on everything becomes a fight now. And I see it with transfers. Half the time fans are trying to disprove a story about a potential player coming in that they don't like. There was a 3 or 4 day period where Chelsea fans are trying to debunk every single journalist that said Lukaku could happen really soon. Why? Because at the time, they wanted the Haaland news to be the truest. So they were trying to debunk it. And then once they realized Haaland ain't happening and it is going to be Lukaku, then they jumped onto that. And it's like, I saw it with the Jules Kounde stuff. There was a story that came out the other day, which I didn't agree with, that Tuchel could have stopped the Jules Kounde conversation. I quote tweeted the story. And I basically said, have you seen this story? Do you think it could be true? Why are you even pushing these lies? I'm asking a question, because they didn't want to even consider it an option. It's weird. Like, I don't quite know how to put my finger on what is driving this behavior from people, but it's like people now lack the inability to hear an opinion or a point of view, or in some cases, even a fact that flies in the face of what they believe in. It's a social issue, not a football issue, but it's become really, really apparent in recent times. We do have some breaking news to bring you, though, ladies and gentlemen, in relation to Chelsea Football Club and their pursuit of Jules Kounde. As you can see here, the news is in. This is from Simon Phillips. Via some reports coming out of France that West Ham are in advanced talks with Kurt Zouma. The Hammers are close to a deal. They've done the deal with Chelsea, and they're already discussing the figure of the contract for the French centre-back. News in relation to Jules Kounde joining Chelsea Football Club is literally picking up pace every single second. Something very similar has also been shared by, of course, Fabrizio Romano as well. He has said an agreement between West Ham and Chelsea, and I'll load this in here so you can see it, is going to be no problem. He says that Chelsea are prepared to sell as they want to sign Kounde as a priority. Spurs are not in the race, but Zuma is negotiating on personal terms. Talks ongoing. With the frequency of the news coming through in relation to this deal, it feels very, very close indeed to happening, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I've said this for 6-7 weeks on this deal now. Zuma has been I've even done a few articles on my website about it, and I don't do very many articles. Zuma's always been the key. If Zuma leaves, Jules Kounde 110% is happening. You can take that to the bank. And then I need the tier 1 Terrys to come out. I know I'm premature with this one, but every single man I know at some point has been premature. Do you know what I mean? Not all, actually. Some men. Well, it depends. Yes, every man has definitely done that. Rack's on the show with us now. Rack is a Liverpool fan. What you stand, bro?
Hey guys, how's it going? You all right?
All good. What are you here to say, buddy?
Just a couple of things. The whole idea of people going up to Arteta to his face, people approaching Edu's family, and all that kind of stuff is utterly, it's totally unacceptable. This is in a sensible society, that kind of stuff shouldn't be condoned, shouldn't be allowed to happen. Those people are scumbags, in my opinion, because we're all allowed to hold opinions. Football is important, but when you're going up to a man shouting in his face, when you're screaming abuse at people within earshot of his family and stuff like that, that's just not right. I was in a space the other day, and some guy I tried to get on, but I couldn't. I was too late. But basically, he was saying that he was DMing Edu's son, who's like 15 years old, telling him that his dad needs to pull his finger out and start getting some transfers through the door and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, this is not sensible adult behavior. Like, what makes you think this is acceptable? Honestly, it really, really annoyed me. Like, you're allowed to voice your opinion and share your opinion and all that kind of stuff, but you need to do it in the right way. And I was at the game yesterday. Mate of mine's Arsenal season ticket holder. He's away on holiday, so he asked me if I wanted to go. So I took the ticket, and in general, the fans were pretty supportive. I didn't hear that many Arteta out screams. There was one guy who I heard who was moaning when I left the stadium, and a couple of kids who were screaming and shouting just before half time. But generally speaking, most of the people, I was quite surprised. Most of the people that were there were like couples, middle-aged, in the 40s and 50s and stuff. And it's difficult for them, because when has like protesting against owners, when has that really been popularized? It's only really been maybe since the 2000s. Like these people who grew up in like the 90s, the 80s, the 70s. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. I haven't done the research, but it doesn't strike me as there being a hell of a lot of protest against owners in those times. So that may shape their opinions. Like obviously we spend a lot of time on socials and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Some people just aren't built like that, or they don't see that as a way to protest. Like, I don't get me wrong, the Chelsea fan who was on a moment ago had a few points, but it's not everyone isn't built like that. So yeah, Arsenal in a tough situation. Arsenal in a very tough situation.
Terry, Arsenal news. Check Fabrizio.
Yeah, I literally was just about to do. This is big. This is big Arsenal news as well, ladies and gentlemen. Let's smash that like and share button. Arsenal Football Club have received an official bid from Corinthians for Willian. He wants to leave Arsenal since May and is now considering Corinthians' proposal. Willian has never been in talks with whoever they are. Priority still to European clubs, but Corinthians are now pushing, of course, to take him back potentially to Brazil. I think Corinthians is playing Brazil, and they're definitely in South America. My geography is terrible, but I think it's Brazil. But either way, South American team Corinthians want to take him back. This could be massive for Arsenal, but at the same time as this potentially being massive for Arsenal, what I would also say about it is there is also this is also where you see if as Jess said earlier, if Willian goes and then Nketiah goes and two other players leave, it doesn't matter who they are. If more money then isn't spent elsewhere, that's when I expect to see Arsenal fans kick off, because you've said also the excuse all summer has been we can't buy before we sell. Well, they're all going now, so you better have those ducks in a row ready to trigger those players coming in if these guys are going out, especially when you're saving 300 grand a week. 300 grand a week you're saving. Literally, with what you're saving on Willian and what you spent on Ramsdale.
Could have got Madison.
That is that deal. It's true. It's true.
I know. I think the only reason why we didn't go for Madison is just value for money in comparison to Erdegaard, which I kind of understand. You know, you wouldn't say that Madison's a £35 million player better than Erdegaard. So I kind of get it. But Willian leaving is great news. I thought it would be an actual good signing for us. I was quite happy when it happened, but it turns out that was totally wrong. And he has been really, really poor. And he also hasn't really expressed that, from what I've seen, an attitude or desire to improve or to almost look like he's enjoying playing for this club. So good luck to him at Corinthians. I hope he has a great time back in his home country, but I'm very happy to see that he's moving on.
I bet you are, mate.
I'm excited.
Super chat here says 100% Terry. I have to think twice when criticizing Ollie. For some who don't know, I'm religious. Religious Ollie in, but at times I'm afraid to criticize Ollie. You should never be afraid to criticize Ollie. It's just how you go about things. And look, I can certainly say that in my early days on socials, some of the ways in which I criticized and spoke about players wasn't acceptable, but I've grown as an individual. And so it's not hypocrisy to turn around and say you should behave different. It's about growing and maturing. It's like me being called a hypocrite for telling my kids not to misbehave in a restaurant just because I misbehaved when I was a kid in a restaurant. Life don't work like that. Like I remember when Jose was mellowing out and he criticized Antonio Conte's way of celebrating. And everyone says, how did he say that? Because he used to do it. It's like, yes, and he was criticized. He learned, he stopped, and now he's doing what the older managers back then told him, but you're not allowing him to do it. It's like we sometimes overuse the word hypocrite, and it's like, well, no, he's not a hypocrite. He's grown.
We don't allow people the chance to grow, and that's just a society thing.
No, it's crazy, and that's what that is there.
About that super chat though.
Yeah.
You see all you man them cussing Edu for his links and that. Now look what happening. His links are getting you out of a jam. So I want to see you thank my brother.
Yeah, but he uses links to get the deal in the first place. That's the problem. But yeah.
These links ain't to get you out of a jam. He's using these links to. I bet he's making a commission on that.
A bit of Raoul, like shaving things off the top. Yeah, it's like
it'll be legal. It'll just be like a finder's fee. You'll get a drink. You'll get a drink. Do you know what I mean?
I'm worried about one thing though. If Corinthians can't pay his wages, we're gonna have to somehow like subsidize it. That's the only reason.
Yeah, maybe. But look, at the end of the day, if Willian leaves and he's costing you 60, 70, 80, 100 grand a week, that's better than him staying, eating all your food and costing you 300 grand a week. Do you know what I mean? And just taking up a space in that dressing room. You've definitely got to look towards getting. Hang on. Yeah. I know. Here we go, Arsenal fans. More news for you.
What's going on?
Fiorentina have offered £1.1 million fee for Lucas Torreira. I forgot he was still there, to be fair. That's from Damasio. Buy option included, around £15 million talks progressing. We could be seeing Torreira. We could be seeing Nketiah. We could be seeing Willian all moving on. But Arsenal Football Club, what are your owners going to do? Are your owners going to reinvest that money, or are they going to put it in their own pockets? It has to be more players. Maybe now Dean Jones' early summer predictions come true. The 130 to 150 has already been spent. The players leave. Does it start to push more towards that 150 to 200 million pound mark? Laughed at when he said it, but the Dean machine has often been right. And remember, people, Lucas Torreira going for a loan fee of 1.5 million isn't where the money is made here, because net spend isn't real. Where the money is made here is what you save on it. What's he on salary wise? 80, 100 grand a week, something like that?
About that, probably. Yeah, let me check.
About that, over the course of the year, that's where the money, let's just say he's on £80,000 a week. Over the course of the next 12 months, which he's going to be covered, that's 4 million quid. So that's plus a fee. You're taking about £5 million there. That covers the cost of signing a new player. Remember, when you buy players, you don't pay it in lump sums. You pay it in installments over the length of the contract. So you don't need £20 million cash to buy Aouar. You probably need year one salaries agent fees, and player costs, about £8 to £10 million to get that over the line. Just getting rid of Lucas Torreira covers your year one cost by about 50 to 60%. And Nketiah, what you're saving on his salary and selling him for, it covers it. Aouar's done with those two deals as an example. William, by the way, 300 grand a week. Even if you're only saving £200,000 of that, I haven't done the math on it, but what's that over a year? It's got to be a hell of a lot. That's over 10 million quid.
10 million quid.
Terry.
So
I hope Eddie's writing all this down.
Off Nketiah, because off of Nketiah, off of Torreira, and off of Willian, circular, you're going to raise in additional player expenditure for the next year. It's 30 million quid. That's just off those players, 30 million in expenditure. Because remember, net spend isn't real. It's about the percentage of your turnover. You're now saving money that can be reinvested elsewhere. But this is where Arsenal fans, are you going to continue to be cuckolds and allow your club to cheat on you? Or are you going to fight back and say, no more am I cleaning your jizzy pants? I'm not doing it. Ollie, he is repeating the same mistakes, playing safe. Will not win him anything. He will not be sacked as he's got top four. And listen, on that point, I've said this many times. If we finish in the same place this season with no progression, and we're just happy to do that, then we know there's been no change in direction in the club, and then all bets are off. We know that for a fact. Then that'll be the proof in the pudding. We will see. Someone needs to change the battery in their smoke alarm. Torreira here says, Torreira, Nketiah, Willian. This is great news, but the elephant in the room is Hector Bellerin. His fee would save so much. Yeah, I mean, if Hecky B goes as well, who knows? Somebody else said Fabrizio has tweeted. I don't know if he has. I'm going to go and check it out now. Oh, he has. Hang on. There's another update. There's another update from Fabrizio. Corinthians have made an official bid. He's just put this out. He's retweeted it. Sorry, I'm an idiot. It's not a new tweet. Someone said it was a new tweet. He retweeted his previous tweet. But hang on, when he does that, that means something. He only did it 15 minutes ago. Why is he retweeting it? Something new is going to be on the way very, very soon, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. But there we go. Look, we're at the end of today's show. Actually, we have another super chat first. We've done that one. Maria Williams in the house says there are ladies in the chat. Let's chat about Jizzy Pants, please. I'm just giving you an example. Arsenal fans, stop being cucks. You've got to stop. You've got to stand up for yourself. Oh, hang on. I've been told there's another tweet. I love this. I'm actually enjoying this. This is basically Twitter live on YouTube. Twitter live on YouTube. It's funny, actually. Right, hang on. Let me get this up. I can't wait.
Wait, Egal, did you just take someone's super chat and tweet it?
Yeah.
Man, he's shameless, bruv. Shameless.
I thought it was a good message. Listen, Terry, I need to say something on this. This right here could have been already planned. I know it sounds crazy, but it could have already been planned out from a long time ago. That Florentina was speaking to us about Lucas Torreira a long time ago, and it could just be that they wanted to wait until the end of the window to bring him in because they didn't want to pay his wages from the beginning of the window. That could be a possibility.
I mean, it's a loose possibility. What is more likely to be, the more logical thought, is still money related though. All clubs have been damaged by the pandemic. So you're seeing this now. Chelsea have just increased the players leaving soon. Man United is starting to pick up. Liverpool, who have got the best football director in the business, have only just started to get rid of players. And it's because the buying clubs have held off this late because they're hoping the selling clubs lower their prices. That is all this is about. They're holding off. West Ham know that Chelsea need to sell Kounde before they can bring in. Sorry, need to sell Zuma before they can bring in Kounde. So they're holding out. They're doing it. They will come in for Lingard, but it will be in the 11th hour, hoping that we will accept 20 million and maybe not the 30 million we initially wanted. What they also know is that we want to get rid of Lingard because he's barely going to play. And they're hoping with a little less time to go, we won't then use Lingard as a ploy to try and get Declan Rice. That's why these things are happening. That's why that's transfer deadline day for you. That's what it's going to be. David's here with us actually before we leave. What are you saying, David?
I'm just listening to these Arsenal fans, just deep in life, and it's great to listen to. They thought they had a chance yesterday, It was a good. Everyone's got hope. Norwich and them man always have hope of it every time they go into a game, but realistically, they know what's going to happen. Willian's going, and no wonder he was liking Chelsea's Instagram post. He's leaving. You're probably going to have to pay £260,000 a week to supplement his wages, but at least he's out of the club and he's free to like whoever's pictures you want. Eddie Nketiah, the next kid up from the Hale End. Yeah, he's going. Torreira, he's better than Kante. Yeah, he's off as well. Nice peak for you, man. But I'm loving it because do you know what? One thing I'm very surprised about with Arsenal fans, not one of them brought up the potential penalty. I'm very shocked not one of them brought it up. But we all know what the answer is. It wasn't a penalty.
I'm just collecting those for when they're all relevant.
But there was no point going on about that because they did very little else. But listen, David, I appreciate you coming on, and everybody else, please smash that like and share button. We're back with more content later today, Monday Night Football and all that jazz. Take care, goodbye, God bless, and we'll see you all again very